This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
All right, folks, what's good? Another episode, Ain't No Seats podcast. And boys, we're going to talk hoops today. Most of this episode, we'll learn more about football bowl game getting announced here soon. We can talk about that next week, but we got a lot to talk about basketball-wise. Hawks got back from Maui. I don't know how we feel about – we'll talk about how we feel about how the Maui trip went. Hawks played a game last night that was not beautiful, quite concerning if we're being honest, but also probably a look-ahead game as you get ready for a big-time game for UConn on Friday. So I guess where I want to start, and B-Turn, I'll go to you first. Last episode, we talked about our expectations, what we liked about this team. A lot's happened since. Where are you right now with this team? Have you changed at all? Are the concerns the same thing? Where are you at?
No, I still feel fine, and I've kind of maintained that they have four legit starters that you know what you're going to get from them every night. And obviously, KJ has had a rough time. I'm still thinking about him, and I know Bill commented about Maui, how he was having a tough time sleeping. Obviously, he wasn't playing a ton out there, and we needed an energy guy and a physical guy against Marquette like him. So that was tough. I still think some of our bench players and role players, I guess, are going to develop throughout the year. I know last night was Eastern Illinois, not very good team at all, but it looked like Timberlake looked a little better. It looked like El Marco didn't play great, but he looked a little more comfortable. I think Johnny Furphy is kind of developing every game and looking better every game. So I think they'll get better minutes from the bench that we've seen. And I still feel fine. Obviously, last night was weird. It just felt like one of those games you're at Allen, and it feels like they're going to pull away. I mean, they're 38-point favorites. You feel like they're going to get up 20, 30 points. I was looking, the spread was like 30 at halftime even, the live spread. So it was weird. It was a 1-point game with 5 minutes left, and I was just envisioning. I mean, you never envision us losing at Allen, but you lose as a 38-point favorite. It's like the same spread as that Chaminade game. It would have been one of the most embarrassing losses like in KU history.
Whoa. It would have been
history.
Yeah, like people were like, is this going to be the worst loss in Bill Self or Kansas home history? I'm like, this would be the worst home loss maybe of any basketball program ever. Didn't Duke AB set the record? Who'd they lose to at the buzzer? They were like
Boston, baby.
Yeah, they were 33-point favorites in that game, I think. Is that right? Maybe that's not the game. Duke lost a game where they were like 33-point favorites at home, and it was a record. So, yeah, it would have been historically bad. That's what I tweeted. It was so bad that it was almost like funny. Like it was just so it wasn't real. Like, we could play that game 100 times, and I would bet that's the closest it would ever be. So I wasn't that concerned. It was just a fluky, bad game. You
know why it was?
Why?
You can't get 20-year-olds to play Marquette, Tennessee, in Maui, have Thanksgiving, come back home, have UConn upcoming on Friday. They have 3 top 7 matchups in a week's time, 9 days' time, and then you expect them to come out and play against this literally the 17th worst ranked team in college basketball. I don't know if I know I say it a lot. I don't know how much it truly affects it. That just screams like sandwich spot that they do not give a single shit about the game, and they sleepwalk, and they're going to be just fine. I promise everyone, do not freak out about that.
And honestly, they're late in the game when it was tight. It kind of took a Bill Self timeout where he drew up an elite play where they fed Hunter Dickinson in the post and he finished, and KU kind of not really separated. They only won by 9 or 8, whatever it was, but kind of got in a groove offensively where they just fed Hunter. I think he had back-to-back buckets. But yeah, it was terrifying, and we love Kevin as much as anyone. I don't know how much you guys paid attention, but to me, it either looked like he was 1, hurt, 2, sick, or 3, just going through the motions, because I've never seen, and he got 18 or 19 shot attempts up, but he missed like 8 layups. I kind of was watching him defensively. He was kind of just going through the motions and not really guarding, and it just looked weird to me. So definitely weird spot after Thanksgiving, you just got beat up in Maui, and it was kind of an emotional trip. And then you have the defending national champs a couple days later who are as good as anyone. So I don't know if Kevin, like I said, I don't know if he was sick, hurt, or just kind of going through the motions, but he looked a little different to me. And I think that's just a reflection of Thanksgiving and kind of just looking ahead a little bit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is like you guys said, it was just a classic letdown game. Also fresh off the best week of McCullers' career. He sets a record, or like has a historic week, truly. So it's like a little bit of that, I think, just reverting back to averages, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I found it funny that after that Bill Self timeout in the final minutes, you could just tell how much harder we were trying on defense. Like, you could tell the way we were, like, getting up in guys' faces, sliding our feet. Like, it was just very clear that the energy wasn't there. So, like I said, I'm not that concerned about it.
I did look,
but
if you guys are ready to move on, I don't know, we don't want to spend too much time on this game. What's their name? Stephen F. Austin was 265th in Ken Palm when they played Duke in that game. So they were about 100 spots better than this Eastern Illinois team. So yeah, it would have been real.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. They
ended up 100th though, so they weren't that bad.
I kept trying to like put myself in their shoes, like how, I mean, at halftime, even when it just looked brutal and ugly, I just was thinking like AB said, as a 19, 20, 21-year-old, like, would you really get up for this game? Like, obviously you're at Allen, you cherish every moment you play there, but you just came from Hawaii playing 2 top 10 teams, and then you have a top 5 team a few days later in the same building, and you have a team that obviously these players know. I'm sure they know about, like, I don't know, point spreads or like what these teams are ranked or where they are in like metrical rankings. So I feel like they see that. And yeah, I just thinking as a college student, how hard it would be to get up for that game.
I mean, I have season tickets and I didn't consider going one time. Like, I was offering them to anybody I could find. So, it just was it was just a stinker of a game. Nobody was excited. Like AP said, you just played Marquette, Tennessee. You were in Hawaii. You went, you have Thanksgiving. Like, yeah, we don't need to overanalyze Eastern Illinois. But what I do want to talk about is the Maui trip in more detail. First off, Shaka Smart, the worst. Cannot stand that guy. The guy is like playing real life My Player mode in NBA 2K. Like, it's like he never played at this high a level, and so now he just wants to pretend he's a player. He's saying F you to college kids. He's in a defensive stance for 30 seconds straight, basically double teaming our players. Good strategy. And then he's like talking shit to Bill Self. Like, you can just tell Bill, just the look on Bill's face is just like,
unbelievable.
Are you kidding me, dude?
Unbelievable. He said it twice.
Yeah. But other than that, other than Shaka Smart being the absolute worst, his team looked pretty dang good, and they wore us out. They were the far better team, way quicker, way more athletic, way more energy, better team, no doubt. And it was concerning. I think the bounce back against Tennessee was good. AB, I want to go to you because you made the prediction. 29 wins regular season. Did the Maui trip change how you feel about that prediction?
It's going to be tough to go 29-2, huh? Yeah, that's why one's probably in the dust, but I don't know. Like, I don't feel that much different.
Did you really expect us to win Maui though? Like, what were your how confident?
Someone had to win. Something. And then Purdue must just be a regular season team. They're I don't know. I don't get it. But anyways, like
4 top 10 teams.
Yeah. I don't feel too much different about them, to be honest. But I've been pretty hard on the point with like Furphy and Elmarco and even Timberlake to an extent. Like, they're gonna get better. At least the 2 freshmen are. That's just natural progression. So like, I'm not really worried about how they look right now. So in tennis, like when they were playing Tennessee, if they would have lost that and then looked like how they did last night, maybe I'm feeling a little bit different because it's just 3 straight games of not feeling good about them. But at the end of the day, like, I think they're going to be fine. There's still a lot of new faces on the team. We know how Bill Self teams are. They never look their best in November unless Udoka Azubuike gets hurt right before conference play starts. So
Yes.
I still feel very confident that, like, the end goal is still national championship or bust. But I don't know that 29-2 is going to be realistic. So no, I don't think that's going to continue to be a prediction for me. But if it does, I will absolutely continue to fire this video.
I guess maybe it's more fair, and either of you can answer this because I know where I stand. I think based on what you just said, I agree, or you stand where I stand. But do you feel still good that, like, this is a team that'll win the conference, get a 1 seed, just have a typical Bill Self year?
Mhm.
Because
I guess, yeah, like, I don't think there's really any doubt. What's a non-typical Bill Self year? Like, what
I would say,
is there anything worse than like a 2 seed?
I'm talking worst Bill Self year, what would you say? Probably 2021. We're a 3 seed. We get absolutely pumped by USC. Yeah. That team was not good. Weird constructed team. That team, 2015 with Oubre, that team somehow got a 2 seed, but it was because they had the toughest schedule and somehow won the Big 12. But that team was not good either.
I got news for you, Ryan. If it's going to be bad and they lose 8-9 games and we go into the tournament not feeling like we can win the championship, they're probably still going to end up being a 2 seed.
Exactly. So, I guess
it's more like a feeling going into the tournament. But, like, already the schedule we've played and what the Big 12 is going to be like with Houston, Baylor, BYU now, it's insane. I don't know if they've won every game since, but they were in the top 10 in Ken Palm recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always do that every year with the Big 12. Like, man, the Big 12 could be down this year. Who knows? And then obviously you got Houston, you got Baylor, you got BYU, you got Texas, KU. But yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking about what our resume could look like if they do win Friday night. I mean, you obviously lost to Marquette and it wasn't very competitive, but you'd have wins over Kentucky, Tennessee, and UConn in the first month of the season, barely.
December 2nd.
Yeah, so that would be elite. I don't know how much we really want to talk about Maui at all. Obviously, you kind of laid it out with Marquette. I mean, Cam Jones and Tyler Kolek combined for like 14 points. Those are the two I was obviously worried about. Those two guards are really good. And we just got dominated. Early in the game, it felt like we were scoring at will. Hunter was going off. Kev looked really good. And then from there on, I wonder how many possessions you can count on hand where we got a good look offensively. Just getting pressured. Their guards were bullying us. Dajuan kind of needed to dictate the pace a little better, but their guards just bullied us on offense and on defense. We couldn't penetrate past our defender. Dajuan just couldn't do what he does. Pick and roll. They took away the pick and roll completely, and Iso Iguodaro killed us. But Marquette is absolutely a national title contender. Shaka's so annoying. He was sitting there smacking the floor from opening tip. That's kind of what you got to do, though, at those in-season tournaments out in different states. Like, you just got to have energy. And KU just didn't match it. But, yeah, the Shaka stuff was kind of wild. He made a comment about how Kevin at Tech was pretty competitive when he coached at Texas. So maybe they have some beef going back. But I've seen players talk shit to benches all the time. You see it pretty much every game where they hit a three and just show emotion.
Yeah.
I mean
Mark he's a holdback guy. He's a guy that gets bumped in a crowded bar and makes his friends hold him back. Like, that's just shocking. He's a guy that likes to pretend he's ready to throw hands, but likely very much does not do that.
And the beef between him and Bill is just so funny. I mean, it obviously starts back with 2011, and Shaka could have just won and not said anything, but he obviously talked shit at his Texas interview, his opening interview, and then Bill, after the game, they kind of asked him about it, how they got Shaka's story, and he doubled down on saying, I guarantee it wasn't accurate. He said it like twice. So,
and for Bill to publicly make it clear he doesn't like you, like, Bill's a tight-lipped guy. You're not getting Bill Self's real thoughts a lot of times, I don't think, when it's a situation like that. He's pretty polished on how he handles the press. And, like, so for him to come out and just flat out be like, yeah, no, that guy's probably a freaking liar, and essentially, like, just made it clear he doesn't like the dude. I loved it because, yeah, Bill Self's one of those guys, if he doesn't like you, then I'd probably just think you suck because I trust Bill Self's
but then
evaluation of a guy like that.
But then the next day, obviously they rebound, play a top 10 team in Tennessee, and find a way to win. I don't know how impressed I am with Tennessee, but obviously defensively they're highly regarded. Rick Barnes is a great coach. I think they're getting shit pumped by UNC right now. I don't know.
Just seeing that and slightly concerned.
I don't know what the score is, but still the rebound like that after Bill was kind of talking about the team after the Marquette game, just talking about KJ and how it's kind of been draining. But to come back that next day and win, and Bill kind of sounded shocked that they won. Like he was just adamant on how big of a win that was and how huge it was to respawn in like 10 or 12 hours after the Marquette game.
Are you seeing this?
61 points and a half? Tennessee is the best defense in the country, aren't they? Aren't they number one?
Yeah.
They're number one on KenPom.
What are they going down to?
I need to go hammer. So I don't know what to hammer, but I want to hammer like Tennessee's second half. I don't know.
Carolina's not even shooting that well, dude. I mean, they're 16 to 16 from the line, but they're, 58%. But Tennessee's shooting 53%.
What is it? Just Baycott getting to the line, or?
I don't know. Baycott's got this. Yeah, that's insane.
But yeah, they just don't impress me. They have one guy, Connect or whatever from, I think he went to like Northern Colorado or something like that. But yeah, Harrison Ingram, I was going to say, went to UNC. That was a guy that, God, I hate.
Kind of a miss now if he's actually good. I haven't paid any attention to him.
Well, I feel like
shooter.
This is a conversation for later down the road, but there was a scholarship that we could have given to a lot of really impact players around the country. I mean, Khalif Battle is averaging like 16 a game. Harrison Ingram's doing the same. God, there's one more I can't think of. But
there's a guy that went to
Matthew Cleveland that went to Miami is averaging like 15 or 16. So there's a lot of guys that could impact and score, and a guy that could complement Dajuan really well. We really have our hopes high on El Marco, obviously, but need him to come along really quickly. And Rye, you always say it, two guards that can handle the ball and score would be massive. We need a guard, and a Dajuan.
Yeah, let's talk home field real quick, and then I want to get more into like the starting lineup, the guard play, all that. But as always, Home Field Apparel, they're the best in the business. We love all their stuff, their hoodies. The new bomber jackets just came out. I saw some people getting those. Those are absolutely fire. Homefieldapparel.com, go check them out. Christmas coming up. I promise, even if it's not for a KU fan, if you got family that are fans of other schools, go check out the stuff that Home Field has. It'll be the most unique, different type shirt they've ever gotten for when it comes to whatever team they cheer for. Even if it's K-State, even if it's Missouri, I think Iowa State maybe has some fire stuff too. So like if you got family members, go have them check out Home Field Apparel. Like we always say, they know what fans want. They use the unique designs. They use the cool fonts fans beg for. So we love Home Field Apparel. We appreciate their support, and we hope you go support them. So we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Okay, so I do want to talk about, obviously we made a mistake in the train. Like this offseason, it was flat out bad what we did when it came to who we decided to take as another guard. And now you're without one. You deserve what you get based on what all went down on that. But we have what we have now, which is El Marco and Nick Timberlake. And that's been the big question mark. I tweeted it the first night or the Kentucky game, and AB was giving me shit, but the 2 guard is a concern. Now, I think El Marco, I'm not as concerned about him, like AB just said. They're going to get better. But even with El Marco getting better, does he solve what this team needs? That's where I get worried. I don't know if his shooting's going to ever get to the level we needed to get to. And so I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what truly is the biggest concern with this team, because I think I saw, it was actually Nick Schwartz was talking about, this team's shooting 40% from 3. And now that's on low volume. They're not taking a ton, but still they're shooting 40% from three. So it's not like it's just an epic disaster of shooting. But I think kind of like you said, B-turn against Marquette and even last night, it's just like it doesn't feel like we can get anything. There's no penetration. There's nobody attacking the basket. So it's like, other than McCullough and then whatever you would consider Dickinson, but it's just like, is shooting truly what we should? Is that still the biggest concern, or is it just like offense overall is the biggest concern? I'm having a hard time figuring out what truly is gonna like be the thing that takes this team down if they lose early in March or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know what you're going to get from Hunter every night, 15 and 20, and kind of that sample size. A lot of it actually is probably from him. I mean, I think he's only missed a handful of threes this year. Dajuan had his game where he shot a ton of threes and he made a bunch of them. Or he only missed one, and he hasn't shot a ton of threes outside of that. So, yeah,
it's nice to see where we're at since the Kentucky game.
Yeah,
the first game
last night.
Miss.
I think last night we hit 3 threes. El Marco hit one really early. Timberlake hit one, and then who else hit one? Furphy hit one from the corner.
Yeah.
So
that was so pure. Oh my! Can we talk about Furphy's jumper? For
yes,
just the idea of it. It's.
I think it's my favorite. It's like my favorite jumper. I'm trying not to be prisoner of the moment here, but like I think Ben McLemore had one of those jumpers where every time he shot it, you were just like, oh. The way his elevate, it was just a beautiful jumper.
Keep talking to me, baby, because your question that you just asked, what's this team missing? Shooting. Who's got a beautiful jump shot? Johnny Furphy.
I know. I hope it's. I don't know though. Like, who do we want? So it sounds like AB. Your answer would be if we had to pick one guy to take a big step, and by February he's just a very dialed in, good basketball player. Who do we want it to be? Do we want it to be Furphy strictly for the shooting? Or do we want it to be El Marco who can maybe, distribute better, get in the paint better? I don't know. Like or do you want it to be Timberlake for shooting and maybe experience? I don't know. What do you guys think on that?
I think Furphy for sure. I don't know. That's my gut. And I know I've been the conversation, can he play the two? But I think McCullough can play the two. And McCullough's your second point guard already right now. That's been publicized. So that solves the question between two ball handlers that can go drive to the rim and either score or kick out and pass. Furphy's out there shooting, and then KJ and Dickinson dominate from 16 feet in. Like, to me, that is
big lineup like
ideal. That. And we talked about El Marco, even like you just said, even if he gets better, are we sure that improves what we need? Like, I don't know that it does. I mean, I think he's going to get better regardless, but I think if I were to choose one, it would be Furby to take the jump and give us a threat from the outside that they don't have to lag off. And that's probably why we can't get much penetration, is because we're not a threat to shoot outside. They can jam the middle of the defense. And there you go. So, for sure it's Furby. Or Timberlake. I feel like we've been hard on him. But if I saw a highlight clip of him, and I get it's at Towson. I understand it's at Towson. But if we see 50% of that,
dude, he did try to double two-hand yam
trying to punch
last night.
He did that against Marquette too, or a game in Maui.
He just needs a confidence boost, I feel like. So I mean, maybe
that's all it is right now.
Look, dude, like to me, like I don't worry that if he's not the answer, because I feel like the other guys could be, but Timberlake might just also be the answer, and I think that might put El Marco in a weird spot in the year. But if we really need the help on.
So I want to hear what B-turn.
We're 300th in the country in like 3-pointers taken. The ratio of like 3-pointers taken to total shots taken. Like we don't take many threes whatsoever. We just need a threat that open. Like you think Dickens is putting up crazy numbers right now. Imagine if those guys start hitting shots consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to throw a lineup scenario at you, but B-turn, I want to hear who you like. If you had to pick a guy that takes the biggest step, and it's just the clear guy. Come March, who is it?
I think it's got to be Timberlake because he's proven it at this level. He's an upperclassman. He has experience. He's super athletic. He absolutely can't guard me, but he can. He's one of the best shooters on the floor at all times, in my opinion. Obviously, he hasn't shot it well this year, but he's done it for 4 years or however long he's done it. So I think, obviously, Furphy, you hope he does, but it's tough to rely on a true freshman, a younger guy. Obviously, you need an upperclassman, especially with our lineup. We got a bunch of older cats. Obviously, Hunter's a senior, KJ junior, Kevin's like a fifth year, Dajuan's pretty much a senior. So you'd have seniors and juniors. And Timberlake, like I said, I think he'd be one of the best shooters on the floor against anyone. He has to start knocking him down consistently. I think exactly what AV said. It's a confidence thing. He looks timid, and obviously Bill's going to get on you for any mistake. You turn it over, you airball a jumper like you did last night, you're getting yanked out of the game where you're getting yelled at. So he's coming off the bench cold. He knows there's a lot of guards he's competing with for minutes. Obviously Furphy, Marco, even Jamari McDowell is probably a guy that could play over him. I mean, I love what I've seen from him. That's a guy we haven't even talked about yet. And that's a guy that just goes out there and plays. And that's kind of the same thing with Furphy. Like Furphy, nothing phases him. He goes out there and guards, plays hard, rebounds. He'll shoot jumpers, even if they're contested. So I want to say Furphy because the ceiling's crazy high, but I just think Timberlake's done it for a while. He has the experience and he has the ability. Obviously, we know Furphy does too, but it's the sample size for me where Timberlake's done it for 4 years. I know it's not at high level Power 5 talent, but
it's so tough because this has been as bad of a start as he ever could have envisioned. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's not, he's missing wide open fast break layups. Like, it is such a mental thing, but the longer it goes on, at a certain point, does a guy mentally break? I'm confident he will turn it around. I don't know how much he'll turn it around, but I wanted to throw this lineup out to you guys because it's been one that's been on my mind. What if we see a scenario where either Timberlake, let's just say Timberlake or Elmarco or McDowell, but probably Timberlake or Elmarco, they take a big step and they're really good, one of those two. But then also Furphy continues to kind of get better and make more shots, rebound a little better. Is there ever a scenario where you go Dajuan, Elmarco, Kevin, Furphy at the 4 and Hunter at the 5 and KJ? It's probably crazy. No. I don't think KJ is going to leave the floor, but defensive rebounding KJ is not.
You say the lineup again.
Basically, you just
Furphy and for KJ.
I had this vision last night of like, man, can you imagine Dajuan with a guy like Timberlake? Now, this isn't a scenario where like
surrounded by shooters.
Yes, and it also just it feels like it would help Hunter so much, and it's not going to happen. Bill Self loves KJ, and I love KJ, and KJ is going to win us games at some point this year. But there are times where it just feels like the fit in the lineup, him next to Dickinson plus McCullough, who's not an outside threat that much, and it just doesn't feel like it's the best fit at times. And so I've been thinking like, man, what if Furphy it would take Furphy improving quite a bit, but I think that could be a pretty exciting lineup. I don't know how much minutes it could get, but there's still some exciting thoughts to this team, I think.
I haven't paid attention to it a ton. Obviously, Maui was tough because KJ didn't play as much, but I definitely saw some chatter on Twitter and just message boards last night about how KJ paired with Hunter kind of just looks a little weird and the spacing is a little goofy. So I haven't paid attention a ton to that. Obviously, I will going forward. But I feel like Friday night is a perfect example against UConn where you're going to need guys to knock down jumpers. KJ, realistically, can't really score from outside of 5 feet, 8 feet. He makes little floaters, and he's randomly taken a couple Big Dave 15-footers this year, and he's struggled from the free throw line too. So yeah, it'd be nice to see. Furphy's probably the same height as KJ.
6, so 7? Here's a crazy Johnny Furphy. Actually, I want you guys to predict this. What do you think KJ Adams is averaging per game rebounds wise, and what do you think Johnny Furphy's averaging rebound wise?
KJ's at like 3.5 every game for sports on DraftKings, 3.5 rebounds. So he's got to be 3 or 4.
Yeah, he's 3.4, and Johnny Furphy is averaging 2.6. It's less than 1 rebound, and KJ is playing Johnny Furphy's playing half the minutes. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'd like to dive a little deeper into that, though.
I'm just...
I get it. Like, KJ's never been a big rebounder, but it's like this year, if Furphy's coming in with the reserves and Parker Brown... I almost said Parker Braun. Jesus Christ, I still haven't moved on. But if Furphy's coming on with Parker Brown in the game, Dickinson's going to get 17 to 20 rebounds every night he's on the court with KJ. So it's like, to me, if Furphy's out there with some reserves and Dickinson stealing rebounds from KJ, if they're already colliding, I don't know. The way I view KJ on defense anyway is he's guarding a guard most of the time. So, like, yeah, maybe you could get some more. I still have that issue with Andrew Wiggins. You're the most athletic person in the gym. Go jump and get a ball. But if he's on the court with Dickinson almost exclusively, Dickinson's probably going to get those rebounds more times than he's not. So I don't know.
Like we're not
that's really his role.
But as a team, we're not a good defensive rebounding team. So
That's
Dickinson
fair.
isn't getting all the rebounds. The problem is Dickinson's getting 13 boards a game, but like we need to be getting a lot more. Like we need.
It's him and Kev basically on the boards. He's had multiple double-digit rebound games, and then I think he averaged 7 or 8 last year, and then he'll probably do the same this year. Last night was not active at all on the boards. I think he had 2 or 3, but KJ's obviously got to do more. It's so hard to harp on him because of what he's going through right now. Like he's obviously not in it, and I feel bad. Like, and we've said it for a couple of years now. I mean, that's a guy that's going to play. If Bill falls in love with you and you play hard and you defend, you're going to play. I've kind of compared it to Mark Vidal at Baylor. I'm trying to think of their starting lineup that year. If he was next to a big, I forget who their big was. They had
Michael Mayer play. Did he start? Or
They obviously had Teague, Jared Butler, Mossy, or
they had some big center, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I was trying to think of Vidal was like it was Vidal, Butler, Teague. Who was their second guard though? They had another stud guard.
Flagler?
Yeah, Adam Flagler was the other guard. So they played.
Yeah, Jonathan Chamu
Chachua. But did he start?
Vidal.
Okay.
Well, and then they also had Flo Thamba, right?
Well, you guys are just leaving Matthew Meyer out of this conversation.
Well, he played. Definitely, I don't think he started. I think he was off the bench.
I just looked up at KenPom. He was the second leading contributor on that team, but that always freaks me out. I've got one more thing to defend KJ really quick because I feel like we're getting a lot of trashing on KJ, and as you guys know, he's like my favorite player.
And I have one more thing to defend KJ as well, so go ahead.
We have to remember that this guy's playing a brand new position. He's never played in college. It's the 7th game of the season, and he's got another big next to him that he's only played with 7 times. Like,
yes.
Plus the personal stuff that we've already talked about. There's just a lot. Like, it doesn't always come naturally, and that's why I still say, like, I'm not worried until it happens in early March right before postseason play starts or something like that. If we're still seeing the same shit, I agree. Maybe we look into like switching it up with KJ, but it's not going to happen. Like they're going to figure it out and they're going to be fine.
So let me say a couple things. One, when I threw the Furphy lineup out there, it wasn't me being like Johnny Furphy should play 30 minutes and KJ should play 12. It was more of like, does KJ play 22 instead of 30? And Furphy plays 18, 20. I don't know. Like, probably not going to happen. But the other thing is, like you said, he's playing a new position, and Bill in postgame last night made a good point. Like, last year, KJ was a 6'5" center. So his entire objective was not go get every rebound. It was just box your guy out, get the 7-footer you're guarding out of the lane so that Jay Will, Grady, and Kevin can go rebound. So, like, KJ's job was not box out and then go get a ball. It was simply just clear your man and Kevin will come clean it up. Jay Will come clean it up. Whereas now KJ's having to revert back to now you got to go get a ball because you're no longer guarding the best rebounder on the floor. You're guarding a guard or you're guarding a guy that's not their best rebounder. So now you've got to go out rebound him. So that's definitely something that will impact how this goes. It's just, and the thing about KJ, it sucks to say it, it's not even about his talent or how he's played. He's our 3rd leading scorer. He's been fine. It's just his style of play next to a guy like Dickinson. And honestly, next to a Kevin McCullough and a Dajuan Harris. Like, you don't want KJ being around guys that aren't outside threats all the time. But Dajuan might. If Dajuan tried to be, he probably could be. But
and then one more thing on KJ. Rye, you brought up the intensity KU had kind of late when it got tight, and they finally realized, okay, this is a game. Bill called timeouts. KJ was tremendous defensively. Like, he was so good. He was guarding guards, keeping them in front of him. They couldn't dribble drive past him. So, yeah, he's plays so hard. He's so good defensively. He'll have 6 lobs a game where his head is above the top of the backboard and he's screaming, and you just love it. So
he will be the biggest fist pumps you'll ever see.
I don't think it's a KJ issue. Like I've said, we got 4 stars that you know what you're getting, and they're going to play hard every night with Hunter, KJ, Kev, Dajuan. I think we need another guard to take a next step, be explosive, knock down jumpers consistently. But yeah, I don't know what you guys want to talk about next. I kind of wanted to go on a little mini rant about Dajuan and kind of what our fans have been saying already early in the year about him.
Oh, well, my favorite tweet I've gotten on the year maybe was that Dajuan is too old for college basketball.
Sure.
Born in 2000.
So
maybe, or was he born in 01? I don't even know, but go ahead.
Obviously it's not every fan and it's early in the year. Dajuan, he even said it on Instagram, like, I'll shoot when I need to shoot. And people are forgetting 15 days ago, he literally took the game. I know Hunter and Kevin had historical performances, but Dajuan, we all 3 know that Dajuan took that game over, won that game for KU. I think personally, Kentucky's one of the best teams in the country. I think they'll prove that throughout the year. So Dajuan did that 15 days ago. I think going into a game against Eastern Illinois, like, I think Dajuan, he's trying to stock up assists. Second off, he's never been this elite scorer where he tries to take over and take all these crazy shots. The coaching staff literally tells him to shoot. Even CB says, like, that Dajuan just always wants to pass. And then kind of my other thing is, I feel like fans would flip-flop if Dajuan started taking 10, 14 shots a game. If he goes 3 for 14 one night, for example, they'd be like, oh my God, why isn't Dajuan facilitating and doing what he always does, getting guys involved and just focusing on defense? So I feel like it's like you can't win with him. And I kind of was just going through older point guards that we've kind of compared him to and kind of compared his career to. One is Aaron Miles, who obviously point god, like, we love him, the Jordan headband, rocking the Jays. And then Russ Robb was the other one, like Russ Robb and A. Miles. What does anyone have to say about them bad? Like Aaron Miles, elite point guard, most assists ever. Russ Robb, national title team, didn't shoot much. He was so solid, glue guy. Everyone loves him. Dajuan Harris, UNC game. RJ Davis, Caleb Love, shut them down. After the game in the locker room, Bill's pointing at Dajuan, points at him, you changed this game. Obviously, Dave was great, Oach, CB, whatever. Dajuan changed the game. I remember when he was showing emotion, getting steals, all that, leading out to all those fast breaks that we always tweet out, the videos. And then just looking at the all-time assist leaders at KU, I tweeted them out earlier. I know KU Hoops tweeted out that Dajuan is 11th all-time at 507. He's averaging 7 assists a game. So he's about 10 games from like being inside of the top 10, 15 games from being inside like the top 5 all-time assists. I think if he keeps that pace, I think end of the year he'll pass Cedric Hunter for 3rd all-time, and then he's probably got a year left. But I was just comparing stats between A. Miles and Dajuan, and like A. Miles never really took shots. I know the teams were stacked, but Dajuan has a better field goal percentage all the time than Aaron Miles. He has a better 3-point percentage. A. Miles averaged 8 points a game. Dajuan's averaging 6 for his career. He's averaging 5 assists a game. He shot 6 attempts a game, Aaron Miles, throughout his career. Dajuan's shooting 5. So it's like, what's the difference between like an Aaron Miles and a Dajuan Harris? Dajuan Harris, who didn't start his first year. Aaron Miles started all 4 years. This is 3 years of Dajuan's sample size. Dajuan's probably going to stay another year and be the all-time assist leader at KU. So, like, Aaron Miles, 6 attempts a game, 7 attempts a game, 7, 6. Dajuan's 5, 7, 6. Like, they're kind of the same. Aaron Miles gets praised, and he's the best point guard ever because he played with those electric teams. And Dajuan won national title.
Let me ask you this, though. If Aaron Miles had a bad game against I don't know, the top, Marquette of 2002, 2003, I feel like the conversation in the moment would be the same, though. Like, in 20 years, we're going to remember Dajuan Harris as a fucking legend, regardless of the game to game. Like,
yeah.
That's just sports.
The fan base
and the fan base is crazy. So, like, they're going to nitpick and pinpoint. Like, I don't know. I think, like, long term, if those stats, I didn't even know those stats were that close. That's kind of fucking crazy. But yeah, we're gonna have Dajuan for you. He won a national championship. He's good forever.
That's definitely what I was gonna say. Like, same with Russ Rob. I think there were times where people were like, "Why is Russell Robinson starting when you have Sharon Call?" Like, there was definitely times where people got frustrated with Russell Robinson. But at the end of the day, you love him, you want him on your team, and you're gonna love him for life, especially because he also won a national title. So, but
yeah, like last year, Dajuan averaged 8.9 points a game, and obviously you want him to come back average double figures. But kind of my point with all that, and we've harped on this a lot, I feel like, is like, what kind of leap or jump do you expect from him? And what do you expect him to do? Do you expect him to become this guy that takes 10, 15 shots a game when you have Hunter and Kevin shooting 30, 40 times a game? Like, I would personally rather have Dajuan just facilitate, get those guys good looks. He's throwing lobs to KJ, Hunter. So I just don't know what KU fans want out of him exactly. Do you want this guy to average 15 points a night? I know you want him to shoot more, but it's like Eastern Illinois, you're 38-point favorites. You're probably going in there expecting to just dime. It would be
interesting to hear, like, what someone's true. If you polled 10,000 Kansas basketball fans and said, if it were up to you realistically, what would Dajuan Harris' stat line be? Like, is it 10 and 7? Is it, I think, like last year, what Dajuan Harris' stat line was, it was 9 and 6. I would love, give me 9 and 6 all day. I'll take that. And his averages will get up because he didn't even attempt to score in the first game of the year. Like, didn't even look at the basket. So
I feel like KU fans will never come to realize the point that, like, Dajuan's like one of the best true point guards to ever come through KU. Like, Aaron Miles has kind of had that title for a long time, and he deserves it. I hope no one thinks I'm like talking shit on him. I'm just kind of comparing, and maybe it's because those teams were so exciting. Like 02 and 03 was just insane, but like A. Miles, his percentages freshman year 40%, 41%, 40%, 46% from three, 29%, 25%, 30%. Like even senior year, so he actually shot 50% from three his senior year, so he finished at 34. But even his senior year, like, think about that team. Obviously, you had Big Dub, it was great. Keith was good, JR, but Keith kind of went through the injuries. Like, that was probably a year where A. Miles needed to step up, but Aaron Miles.
And I actually do think Miles kind of got dragged his senior year a little bit. I mean, that team just melted down, and people were pissed at Miles. Like, I don't know. What were we? 10, 11.
Bill's first year.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think Dajuan, you're never going to have a time where KU fan base, there's going to be a time where KU fan base turns on Hunter Dickinson this year. I guarantee it. He will have a bad conference game that we will lose, and people will say he's not a winner, he doesn't try hard.
Think about what they said about Dickinson after the Illinois scrimmage.
Yeah, and it's like, I still have people that when, like, I say, like, oh, this team's fine and whatever, they're like, or I'm like, it was like when I tweeted about the 2020 team, how bad they looked in the Champions Classic, and people were like, oh, Udoka's not walking through this door, and that team had shooters, and that team had guys. It's like Isaiah Moss was the only good outside shooter on that team. Like, it's so funny how much we forget about, like, the more time passes, everything always seemed better in all aspects of life. Like, everything in the past always seemed better than it probably was. That team in 2020, I would argue, was like at times looked like a weirdly constructed team.
Yeah. That was young.
At one point started David McCormick and Udoka together.
And that was young Oates, where he was kind of just getting established. He had that redshirt year where he showed the flashes. And then, that year, I think I was looking the other day, he was like 32% from three. That was the only issue with him, is that he couldn't shoot it well. that year, and that was kind of the issue with the NBA stuff. And then, yeah, you had Dave and Doak and Marcus, who was just, that team was so fucking good defensively, where you got Marcus, Dot, Ocho solid, and then Doak as the rim protector. This year, I don't know if they can get there, but I think KJ, McCullough, Dajuan's a good start. And then maybe one of those guards we've been talking about. I don't know, like last night down the stretch, it was El Marco in late. So I didn't know how you guys felt about that. Maybe that's Bill just kind of trying to get him more minutes in a tight game, but I don't know. Like, what would you guys want the lineup to be down the stretch in a tight game?
I lean El Marco right now, I think, too. Like, Timberlake, I want the guy to figure it out, but like he is not, you can't trust him. There's times where he'll get a ball and he'll be kind of in transition and he's not even looking to make like a good basketball play. He's just looking to get rid of the ball. Like he'll just toss it to a guy. And it's like a pass where you normally wouldn't see it in the flow of the game, but he kind of just wants it out of his hands. So I think El Marco is just a guy that needs reps, and I think he's going to be a guy that when it clicks, it's going to click and it's going to be very clear. But yeah, it's tough because you watch the Furphy jumper and you're like, I would like him on the floor at all times, please, because that's the sexiest jumper I've ever seen in my life. So
especially Friday night, I think that's a really tough matchup. I think it could be Marquette-esque, where they're just going to get out and pressure our guards and make it really tough. Make it tough pick and roll wise, where they just take the guy away, Dajuan, stay in front of him and just take away the roll guy. So I think it could be a lineup where we just need shooters. UConn's obviously still really good. They got a lot of guys back from that team, Klingon, Tristan Newton, Caravan, and then they got this stud freshman in. So it's going to be a tough matchup, and I think UConn always just brings it from a physical standpoint and energy standpoint. Like Hurley just gets those guys fired up. So they're going to have to match that. Oh, Castle, the freshman, might not play much, which is huge.
I think I read on Twitter before.
And then
he's not playing.
They got that Spencer kid from Rutgers, who KU fans are just going to hate after Friday, by the way. He's white boy that plays really hard guards and can just knock down threes.
You'll see in that tournament they played in. But, okay, I want to talk, or we can make UConn predictions and stuff, but real quick, I want to throw a scenario at you guys that I was thinking about today. Mm-hmm. And we've played this game before, and I've kind of added a wrinkle to it. You know, it's the classic game of if you could add any player from the Bill Self era to this Kansas team, who would it be? But I got to thinking, like, the game's kind of stupid because it's like you're always going to pick Devontae Graham, or if you need a big, you're going to pick Joel Embiid, or there's just a couple guys. But what I'm going to throw at you guys, which probably would have taken some more prep and thought, but you got to pick a guy from a former Bill Self team, but it can't be a guy that was an All-American. It can't be a guy that was like all Big 12, first team, second. Like, it's just got to be kind of a glue guy, but could be better than a glue guy. It doesn't have to be Isaiah Moss. It could be a little better than Isaiah Moss, but like I think Svi, I'll just throw out, I think could be an option. I don't consider him an All-American, but he'd be great for this team. But maybe, like Nick just said in the chat, Malik Newman.
I know we have Hunter, but the other day I was actually trying to think of like fours that could complement Hunter, like a four that could step out and shoot it. I was
thinking, like, is it shoot? Do you want a two guard that could shoot it, or would it be filthy to have I'm trying to think of a four that wasn't like Grady Dick would be an interesting option.
But I'm thinking about like Josh and Grady. Like, are those guys we can even add?
I think Josh is sitting weirdly. He's like almost playing wise. This is gonna sound crazy, but like I know, like KJ, like athletic, not a big shooter. So I don't know. I was thinking on that, and the obvious choice seems you jump at a shooter. But then I got thinking, I kind of want someone that can penetrate, getting like a better guard that's maybe not an elite shooter, a guy that can actually get to the bucket, create a basket. Like, that was the thing about the 2020 team. Devon Dotson at any point could get past his man and get into the paint. And we just don't have that. McCullough can get into the paint pretty easily. But
Yeah,
so I don't know. It's a
but he's not
different
like an
question.
explosive, crazy athlete that can just drive by anyone and just dunk on dudes at will. Yeah, it is tough. I mean, Mario Chalmers probably wouldn't count. Brandon
he's not
Rush,
an
they were too
All-American,
good.
but yeah, I would consider them guys that like are always in the typical answer you give.
Yeah, Trav would be a good glue guy. He's just not. He shot it better throughout his career.
I feel like he's like McCullough.
And Benny Mack would be I mean, he was too good though. I feel like if you're a top 5 pick, and I don't know, it's just tough. Like T-Rob probably wouldn't be good because he's kind of a bruiser. He could get out and shoot it a little bit, but he's kind of just would bang down low.
And weirdly, what I was thinking about is like last year, if we were to play this game, Hunter Dickinson would be a guy that you would say. You'd be like, if you could just get Dickinson in at the 5. And then now this year you're saying, oh, well, you take Grady Dick. Like, it just goes to show that every single year you're going to have a spot where you're just like, man, it just doesn't, it's not quite there. But I don't know. What about like Darrell Arthur? I mean, I would love to see Darrell Arthur, and I think I say this all the time, but like I would love to see this
What
era of
about
basketball.
What about Jammin Julian? Was he too good?
I don't think so. I wouldn't consider him too good, but
I feel like if the guy got picked
He's
in the
king.
lottery, he was probably too good.
I also
And that takes out both of those
Julian
guys.
Wright's kind of KJ Adams, isn't he? Like same style in a way.
God, Julian was fun. I'm trying to think. I mean, yeah, I don't know if this is crazy, but would you debate Malik Newman between Grady Dick, or is there a for sure answer between those two? I know Grady was a lottery pick, but do we kind of have? I mean, we don't have a shooter like Grady, but I think Furphy is kind of Svi Grady-ish.
I feel like
Take 4 games away from Malik, and
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, like I don't know. He led us to a Final Four that no longer counts. But like most of that season, we spent doing. We weren't doing the podcast yet, but if we did a podcast, most of the episodes would probably include us being like, "What is up with Malik Newman? When is he going to figure it out?" So like,
yeah.
I mean, if we're taking away like lottery picks and stuff like that, it could be a guy like Brady or Tyrell. As crazy as that sound, I mean, a guy that guards, plays well, can shoot it. I don't know if those two are really blowing by defenders, and I would say like a Tyshawn, but he was probably a second-team All-American.
And just like I still feel like we'd want, but God, he would be the guy that gets in the paint, like I was talking about. But man,
I got 2 names outside the box.
Brandon Green.
Brandon Green's one of them, and J.R. Giddens is the other.
I was gonna say J.R.
Yes, that's the answer. And
He's hit clutch shots in his life. I mean,
Dajuan Harris
JR was very good.
J.R. Giddens, Kevin McCullough, KJ Adams. I don't know. That's still like a team where it's like who's handling the ball. I guess Kevin and
Juan Harris.
I mean, gosh, Malik Newman's a really good answer.
Yeah.
Who was the first guy we said right out of the gate?
Svi. Xavier's not bad.
Xavier gets forgotten.
And Svi,
I think
Svi is
Svi's
so
a pretty
tough.
dang good answer.
Svi's probably the one, but if Xavier came back, his dad would have to be like, we'd have to get a, what do they call those? This is just insane.
Restraining order?
Restraining order from the city of Lawrence, Kansas, and any other hometowns of Big 12 schools.
See, this could be like a freshman that didn't pan out, but we know is good, like a Josh Selby.
Yeah. Oh.
Kelly.
Summer League MVP.
Kelly's not.
Kelly's not a bad answer. He wasn't an All-American, but he was a lotto pick.
And I mean, could you slide like who? I'm trying to think of a guy that you could slide to that shoots it, that's athletic, and also could play the 4. I feel like Oubre, maybe you could slide him in at the 4. Like you put DeJuan, Elmarco, McCullough, and Oubre. That could be a pretty electric lineup. I don't know. It's a fun game to think about. Also frustrating sometimes when you think, man, if we just had that type of player on this team, we're not losing. But you could say
I was doing all that hard working assist research last night, and we forget, I know we know, but we forget how elite of a point guard Devontae was. Like in his only year at point, I was looking at single season assist leaders. He's number 1 at 282. Like,
dude.
And DeJuan, I'm looking at DeJuan because Dajuan's at like 52 already. He's averaging 6, 7. He'll average 6 or 7 assists. You got 24 more regular season games. So that'd be 168. He'd be at 675, which would get him ahead of Kirk Heinrich for 4th all time. And then he would be right around Cedric Hunter at 684. So you're going to have Big 12 tournament and the tournament. So he's going to be, I think, probably guaranteed to be 3rd all time. But I don't even know if he would come close to DT's.
That's exactly why I left DT out, because it doesn't matter what team you're dealing with. DT was the reason I said can't have an All-American, because you could plug DT into any team and he can play the 2, he can play the 1. Doesn't matter. If you're lacking shooting, he'll help you. If you're lacking distributing, he'll help you. Like, he truly was so perfect. And it's insane that Dajuan, now he's going to get the extra year. But so wait, where will Dajuan be at compared to DT by the end of this year if you just assume he had a 4-year career? Pretty far off, right?
Like single season? Or all-time assists?
Yeah, where's DT on all-time assist?
He's 5th at 632. Dajuan's at 507 right now. So I did regular season, which is 24 games. You times that by 6 or 7, that's right around 150. So he'd be at 560 right there ahead of DT.
That's wild.
But DT was kind of
year he really didn't play that much.
Yeah, but I guess quick answer, since we probably need to wrap up pretty quick, but if you could just pick one Bill Self player, no matter the accolades or what, who would it be?
For this team?
Yeah.
I was thinking DT. He saw
Morris.
Yeah, more.
A twin would be great. Markeith could be an answer for the last one, even though he was Lotto.
Yeah, I think Marcus Morris just check. I think
Ben would be so awesome. I think Macklemore would be fucking fun.
You guys want to have a therapy session, talk about how Markeith Morris lost to VCU in the Elite Eight? Because think about how perfect of a college basketball player Marcus Morris is.
Big 12 player of the year.
Didn't play in the Final Four.
Same with Frank.
Senior year, Frank, I was just thinking this as we were talking to Devontae. If you just had to pick a Bill Self type player, like what skills do you want? Like, who is that mold? And I think senior year Frank, which is not that bold to say, he won the freak National Player of the Year, but I think that is just the most perfect Bill Self player you could possibly have, because he figured out his shot that year. He could drive, get to the basket. I think Devontae's up there too, but I don't know.
You're missing a name. He's on the roster right now. You've already said it, that Hunter Dickinson was made in a lab to play basketball.
I was gonna get to the big men next.
Okay.
Yeah,
the big men.
I think it's a point guard and it's a center. Those are the two guys, those two positions that Bill Self was just born to coach. But yeah, Dickinson's up there.
I'm stuck on the Marcus Morris.
He protected the rim a little bit.
I love that.
That's what kills.
I almost said Whitty for that question. Can you imagine Whitty?
I think it may be Cole Aldridge.
Probably be. But can you imagine 2 7-foot whites just rolling around dominating this game? Oh my god. We got to wrap up.
Oh, okay. I want to hear. I don't know. UConn's electric. They're athletic. I'm scared. I think it's going to be a really tough game. I think it's going to be Marquette. But what's early line, AB?
What's Ken Palm?
-1.
Yeah, I guess pick last night.
It's boys. Big game at Allen Fieldhouse. They win them 95% of the time.
They do.
Yeah, but
after playing like shit.
If we lose, are the lights gone?
I don't know. They were kind of sick.
They look kind of sick, but we almost lost to Eastern Illinois.
You know what it looked like? What I took from that video when I saw it was that they took the shit pump alert thing, and they just assumed that game was going to be a shit pump alert and just circled a red light around the whole gym. And I love it, because if that's going to happen,
that would be funny. We go on a 15-0 run to go up 31-12, and they just start running. They start doing that with a siren.
Yeah, I think it'll be obviously an awesome game. I think Klingen's obviously good, but I think we can match up with him decently well. Hunter, God, he kills me defensively. Just how slow he can be on his feet and how he can't jump. It's so funny, but I think UConn's kind of having the same issues as KU right now, where they're trying to find their rotation. They're trying to find their bench. I had no idea about Castle, their freshman. Our producer, Nick, just kind of dropped in saying he might not play or he might not play a ton. I think that's pretty big. Tristan Newton, Caravan, and Spencer will get out and guard, and they'll make it tough on our guards. So I think they're going to try to do what Marquette did. I don't know why teams wouldn't try to emulate what they did, which is just get out, pressure the guards, make Dajuan kind of beat you, try to speed him up a little bit. Don't let him dribble drive. And what'd I say?
Nothing. Tennessee's within 10.
Oh, my.
Oh, wow.
But they're scoring because UNC's got 84 points with 8 minutes to go. So
yeah, it'll be a great game. But like AB said, KU is so good at the Fieldhouse in general, but for the bigger games where it's highly anticipated and the Fieldhouse is going to be crazy, Friday night game, I obviously am going to take KU all day.
I have one note before we leave. So I'm sure all you guys saw the video going viral at KU camping that started this morning, and someone, like, people were saying it's the most people they've ever seen at camping. I assure you, and you guys were all there too, I assure you that there were more people at 6 a.m. at the Fieldhouse to get lottery numbers for Andrew Wiggins against Pittsburgh State in his debut. That place was packed. That looked like a minor league game compared to
I was a little shocked that went so viral. I mean, it's still very impressive, but like,
oh yeah,
dude, Missouri Missouri 2012. I guess I wasn't there yet, but Missouri 2012. Maybe I'm getting the game wrong, but maybe it was Kentucky 2015. Like, there was a game where it was insane. Plus, like you said, yes, the Wiggins early year stuff was bananas. Andrew Wiggins was like freaking Taylor Swift level famous on KU's campus for the first few weeks of that year.
I wonder what his NIL would have been if that was a thing back then.
So insane.
Out of this world.
Insane. But all right, let's wrap up. This was a fun one, but I think, hey, if KU beats UConn, which I think they will, we are all the way back. Like, there's no negative things to say. I mean, there's still going to be concerns, but like, this team is not even close to where they can be. And if you wrap up December 1st, and you've got wins over UConn, Tennessee, Kentucky, this team's going to be so good. So we'll see. But they could also lose, and then we'll have a conversation about that too. But all right. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week, and rock chalk.